Hello and a warm welcome to another episode of the WenDirkCast, a podcast all about things concerning the Metaverse Football League. As always, we're your hosts, Jimbo, myself, and Calvinator. Going to discuss everything from MFL updates to transfers, developments. You know the drill by now. One important note, like we always say in our intros, this is not financial advice. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. Calvinator, we've got a very special guest on today. Do you want to let us know who that is?
Yes, we have a very special guest, a big name in the Ballerz community and a big name in the MFL community, of course, too. And he is going to talk to us today about DAO, what that means and how it will apply to MFL or what you can do with it. So a big warm welcome to BSellers. How are you doing today?
What is going on, fellas? Thanks for having me on. We appreciate it. Over in the BFC community, we have our own little side Discord that a lot of strategy happens in and, kind of keeps our clubs moving in the right direction. So, thanks for having me on. Thanks for the questions and excited to get into it.
Yeah, we want to know all about those secrets and everything that goes on there in that community, but more about that later. And first, I guess we should do a little stream debrief. How did it go, Jimbo, for us? Stream?
Yeah, I felt like it went well. We obviously, for people who had tuned into previous ones, you would have noticed that I decided to give a little bit of the scenes a bit of an uplift and give them a little bit of an update. And with the stream deck as well that I've got here, I could do some fancy soundboards, which did the Champions League music, which I've read up about that I might need to introduce a remix version because of copyright. So hopefully we don't get striked for that on the VOD. But in the future, we might have some remixes of copyrighted music. But overall, I thought it was a really great stream.
Yeah, no,
Fire,
yeah, definitely.
Exactly. I can't do it in here. I will. Yeah, I did think that Lucas would get pretty angry with that. I knew he was joking, but I remember in the podcast we asked him. We listened back to this, and he's like, probably won't because I don't like the sound of my own voice. So I knew that I was maybe crossing the line a bit with it, but I think he found the funny side to it inside everyone else.
I think it's okay. Yeah, and it really adds a bit flavor to the stream and makes it more fun. So
flavor.
Yeah, that's my favorite word, adding flavor to stuff. And we should congratulate Big Wilbert on his WenDirk victory on the purple nice trophy. He's added to his inventory. It's a closet of full of prizes.
Oh, how many is that now for him?
Too
I don't
many.
know, 31, 32 he's got or something now. It's a lot.
A lot of them.
I think we've all lost count. Big Willie comes with the tournament teams.
Yes, no, he's very good at that. So, yeah, we have 3 winners now, and probably there will be more editions of the WenDirk Cup. So, stay tuned for that, and hopefully one of our listeners will win the next tourney. So what will we do today? I think we already talked a bit about that. Jimbo, could you introduce it a bit more?
Yeah, so we'll do our weekly updates as per. We'll get straight into those in one sec. So we'll go through our weekly updates. We'll all discuss them together. Then we'll move on to our main segment, the bit we're all eagerly awaiting for, our conversation with Sellers about himself and MFL, where the Ballerz DAO came from, what that entails, because obviously there's quite a few members of that community, and there's many managers out there who've played against some of the clubs under the ownership. So it'd be great to sort of hear a bit more of the behind the scenes work that goes into Ballerz DAO. So without further ado, let's kick off and get into the weekly updates.
Yes, weekly updates time. So personal journeys, I guess, there's not been a lot of competitive metaverse football going on, but mostly I would say squad building. The transfer window is open again. So signing new players. Some players left the clubs and you have to find replacements for that. So I was wondering, how is that going for you guys? Squad building? Any big changes in your squads, in your teams?
I've personally not made any changes, but have I? No, I purchased one centre back. Which is nice because he's now starting centre back, which means that last season starting centre back is now a sub centre back, which I'm quite happy about because he was still really good. But yeah, apart from that, I've not had much transfer. It's been quite boring one for me.
Boring
How about you,
transfer.
Sellers?
BSellers?
Well, our transfer window is always extremely active because we have, obviously, everybody in our community has their personal teams, and then we also have to then build our club managed teams. So there's been some massive moves. Ronan usually loans BFC Diamond Arno Heck, who's like a 90 striker. And he's moving to a 4-2-2. So since he's moving to the 4-2-2, he needed Heck back. But he isn't really using wings anymore. So we signed Lars Thyssen from him, who's a 93 left wing. And so BFC Diamond this season is going to be running the 4-3-3, really the 4-1-2-3 with the CDM. Taggart has that 88 CDM Girk. So we're excited about that. Excited about moving forward with that. We have Zach Bowe's 90 right wing, Kirkpatrick, and then we got another mid coming in, Benitez. We're excited about Benitez, and signed Richards from Scrub. So we got a good striker in there in the middle. So our transfer window is always active. We're always trying to build our personal teams and then also come back and make sure that we're leaving enough talent for the BFC teams outside of club-owned players. We also loan our personal players to the BFC team. So it's transfer windows are extremely active in the BFC community.
I can imagine. And I think also with positional familiarity, this is really shaking up things. So for my teams, if you had like some wingbacks before as their primary position, and now they can play right back, but they lose some overall, or they are not like totally familiar with that. That's kind of hard. So I really had to decide for my own teams which formations I'm gonna play, and then do a big shuffle. At least my iron bronze teams. And I think for most managers this is the case. Like it's suddenly your team looks a bit out of shape, right? Out of balance. So for you, what you said, BSellers, like the whole, I guess for Ronan the same, he swapped formation maybe because of the familiarity changing there, and that has an effect on your teams, right? So.
No, yeah, I mean, if you look at Ronan's build, he's got those two massive cams, so he has to move to, and they take such a massive hit if you move those center attacking mids into a formation that doesn't have a center attacking mid slot. They take such a massive overall hit. So he had to move to a formation because, we did have Stipo on the team last last season as well. So he took Stipo back as well. But I mean, now he's running that like 93, 94, 2 cam system, and it's tough to compete with, but it's fun. We have a little something for him coming.
Great. That's a nice challenge here. Let's see in the Diamond League how that will play out. Okay, dev updates. Team instructions. Of course, this is the massive, big update of the week. We've all been experimenting with this, and I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot about it right now. So 11 new tactical settings, offensive one, defensive one, has been released. We can all experiment with it, see how it works. They influence player behavior on the field. So this is a massive, exciting update that has been released, and we're all testing it right now. Referral program is almost ready. More details will follow soon, but we can expect that to be released very soon. A new formation has been added, so I know Dio was asking for it, Bosco was asking for this, the 4-3-3 with a CDM in there has been released. So at player request, at manager request, so that's really nice that formation is there. Player rating system, they are working on that. First working version has been implemented, and this will influence also player mood in future updates. So this is another big aspect that is going to be added to the overall management system. Improved goalkeeper realism will be in the next engine update, so more ball touches and teamwork with defenders. Expected goals, another big update, also requested by the community a lot, and it's there right now on the match page. So after each match you can see the expected goals. And more season 0.3 is over, so the transfer window, we just talked about it in detail already. And the preseason tournament has also been opened. Today, we record this on Friday, so since today you can register for that tourney. No fatigue, and 11 players are needed to participate. So guys, team instructions, what are your first experiences with this?
I'm enjoying it. I'm very happy that we can now actually have more of an influence to control over what our teams do, which is nice, because we've probably all got players who, say wingers, for example, or wide midfielders who have really good pace and really good dribbling. And you want to be able to actually give them a command or, a shout to say, I want you to dribble more, please, mate. We can now make these things happen. So there's lots of different avenues that managers can go down for controlling how their setup and players perform in and out of possession. I think is really neat that it's both of the types of possession as well. I'm having lots of fun with it, but I'm still waiting. I said to you, Calvin, before this, so I'm still waiting. Give it another week or so to properly digest and get into it, to let other managers also get used to it too. Because I was saying to Bosco, I played in one game, changed all my tactics, then beat him 6 times in a row. And he said to me, I've not even touched that team yet. I was like, oh, brilliant. So all my tactical geniuses I thought I was, made nothing, because not even change it, exactly. All its default. So I'll give it a week, everyone else, all the managers get to do their thing. And then I'll start researching, getting into it more when I know that people are maybe running different setups as well.
BSellers?
No, yeah, it's massive for us. I think this is the first... I guess, the first time in our MFL journey that we actually get to interact with the player behavior. And I think that's super important, right? Especially from a managerial standpoint, you're adding these players to your team for what they can do on the pitch, right? So I think this is the first time that we get to kind of have a hand in that and kind of say, hey, look, you're more skilled in this area, so I want my team to, I'm building my team to play wide and send in a lot of crosses. Well, this is the first time we can tell them to do that, right? So I think it's great. I think it adds another aspect to it. This certainly adds some depth. No pun intended. You can actually change your team depth, right? So, but it does add some depth to the game, kind of makes you think a little bit more about team building and not just saying, hey, I need these players with the highest possible overall, but maybe I'm playing, to play narrow and get a lot of shots off. And so, maybe I don't need a ton of passing skill up top. Maybe I just need some shooters and we're going to run and gun. Or, so I think this first interaction with player movement and kind of how they're interacting with the simulation is super important. And it's been fun to play with. I've certainly tinkered a lot with BFC's Diamond team. And, like Jimbo said, I think it's going to take a little bit for us to figure it out, make sure other people have some tactics in their game or some lineup saved. And so we can kind of see how it's interacting with the opposing manager's tactics. And I think, there'll certainly be a sweet spot for every team, but we'll find it eventually.
Yeah. Now, it's also interesting because you cannot see the settings of the other team. You can see their formation. So before you could say they play 4-4-2, maybe to play it safe, I counter with a 4-4-2 and then just rely on my quality on the pitch. And now you cannot really see, right? You have to maybe dive into the stats or maybe assume they play like this. And also, to really influence that game. So right now it's a bit of an enigma for me. I think for most people, really what is it really doing and how does it influence everything? But after some testing, it will be really massive update.
I did see a little nugget the other day from Yax. Maybe I think he said, he kind of mentioned, wouldn't it be better if we just saw the players on the pitch moving?
Ooh,
So so that he's kind of hinting there that we might see the full sim soon. So hopes are high that sometime during season 0.4 we might get some visuals, some 2D visuals. I don't want to hype anybody up, but Yaks, we're counting on you, man.
I think that would really sort of like the icing on the cake coming after team instructions, because like you just said, if you're able to visually see, same thing, you're able to see how the players move on the pitch, you can understand actually how does this change of my tactics influence the setup. You can't just go, oh, I've just shot more. Is that because I've put more long shots or I've put more team play? You can't really understand what links to what, but with the visuals, you can go, oh, they're definitely playing a low block, or they're definitely playing wide, that sort of thing. I agree.
Yeah, and also, for example, you can select, right, should you play out of the back or should you play just, clear the ball quickly, just kick and rush kind of. You don't know if your defenders you can kind of see if they're good passers, but maybe they keep making mistakes trying to play out of the back. We don't know that. Or if you say a lot of dribbling and your striker is not the best dribbler, is he missing shots because it's a failed dribble or it's a failed attempted dribbling? So yeah, it would be really helpful to see that and back on the pitch. It would be nice.
And you mentioned the low block. It's going to be interesting to see how those that 5-2-3, that 3-5-2 system works when you are changing your team depth, right? I mean, if I drop my team depth on the 3-5-2, are my mids dropping back to a wing back position in a 3-5-2 on the low block in the sim, or are they still staying a little high because they're technically in a 3-5-2? Or do I have to go to like a 5-2-3 in a high block scenario and more of a high pressure scenario, and then what are my wings doing? So when are my wing backs attacking versus when are my backs attacking? So I mean, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of understanding like how rigid or loose are formations in the sim,
right?
They're
based
on your tactics. That's sort of what you're on. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I will also just point out one thing as well I liked in the dev updates. Maybe it's my sense of humour, and I think a few other people might have saw it as well. When Yak said, regarding the next version of the engine in development, Quinton is working on some improvements of the realism of the goalkeepers, and the next sentence is, making them touch more balls and play with the defenders. So I don't want to be on that squad if I'm a defender and my goalkeepers play my balls and touching me more, but I think I just found that quite funny.
At the same time, I think I probably do want to be on a squad where, the goalkeeper's touching a lot of balls and not let them get to the net, I mean...
Yeah, each their own, maybe. Each their own then, yeah? Must be a culture thing across the pond.
Hey, I think we're just going to play to win. And, if we got to touch more balls, we got to touch more balls.
You heard it here first. That's going to be the next soundbite for the stream.
In the Dirk Dilemmas, we're going to touch a bit more on tactics. And I think, Jimbo, right, I said before, like, we should do a proper episode about this, fully dedicated tactics.
Yeah, we'll dedicate a complete episode to tactics and whatnot, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of share what we think would be good or our experience so far. Maybe some tips and tricks from what we know by then. So that will be, we'll record one soonish. Not sure when exactly, but we're planning to record a full episode on tactics. And as said, later in Dirk Dilemmas, we're going to ask some more questions about tactics to BSellers. So let's move on with the update. So season update, no football, no Metaverse football, apart from the WenDirk Cup that Big Wilbert won. And the next tournament coming up starts on the 25th, so in 6 days. So soon we're able to play some competitive football again, Metaverse football. Marketplace update, again, very busy market after the drop, right? Loads of sales and people getting ready season 0.4, maybe getting an extra club, maybe buying things for that. First, shout out to some new managers. I like to check the sales bot, like are there some names I did not see before or new people getting active there. So, for example, King59350, he was very active, never saw that name, so welcome to MFL. And also Steve from Australia. I didn't see his name a lot before, and he also bought quite some uncommon players. More Frajoko bought another bronze club in Dortmund. Very nice purchase, 150 USD. And he bought a ton of new German players for that. Big Wilbert had a little splash, 85 right mids for 335 USD. But Jimbo, what was the big splash?
Splash of the week. Profound Soda. Yeah, there we go. Live one for you, eh?
Live one.
Splash
yes.
of the week was by Profound Soda. And I can actually pronounce this name, even though it's Welsh. It's Bryn Llewellyn. I can pronounce that one. So it's an overall of
nice name.
88. Sold for $650. Centre back CDM from Wales, 21. Lovely stats on him. And from purchase from Blood Rail, but Profound Soda, congratulations on being this week's Splash of the Week.
Yeah, that splash wasn't the best in the world for BFC because Blut is originally from the Ballers community. He runs the Ballers sim on the basketball side, and so he sent a message in the BFC Discord and was like, "Hey, y'all can use this player until he sells." And then as soon as he sold it, 2 minutes later, Profound Soda bought him, and so that was really cool. But it's okay.
But was his contract was already disabled, or was it just before you?
No, I mean we didn't even have time to send a contract.
Okay.
It was immediate, But I mean, we have a ton of people in that Discord. I mean, Profound Soda owns some BFC ownership tokens. I mean, he's a member of the club as well. So I mean, it's not like people aren't seeing our general chat in there. But
Okay.
Profound needed some center back help, so that was a great buy for him. Looks great on his team.
Yeah, it's a massive defensive. It's 96 defense, and the other stats are a bit more balanced, 75, but he's very good at defending, this guy, so good center back, definitely. Speaking about legendary players and very good ones is Dirk, of course, but Dirk has not been playing. Jimbo, you wrote something that Ronan is testing him a lot. Did you see any testing?
Yeah, well, obviously, no competitive games, but Ronan's been putting him through his paces in pre-season. I think as I was typing those notes in on our little agenda here, I think I looked at, the sort of that hot bar of MFL we can see with the most recent games. I'm pretty sure his Mercenaries was occupying 6 out of those 10 slots. So he was 5 minutes rematch, relentless, bang, bang, bang. And he was playing Dio's team, and he wasn't having the best of luck. But I saw that he'd played Dirk at a right mid, and he played him at a left wing,
Ooh.
which downgraded him by about 6. So I think he's in that researching stage, it looks like. So excited to see what he does with him.
Yeah, it's interesting. Should you play him as a left wing in the secondary position? He's still good at there, but
he's just playing around,
right?
I think. So. Yeah, seeing what's decent. There's lots of, it could be that you take a hit on his overall rating and a few of his stats, but actually still performs better than other players were with the tactical setup you're running. So lots of different things. We don't know the setups he's running. We don't know the brain of Ronan. We could do if he comes on the pod. We can understand that brain a bit better, which could be one.
We should get him on the pod, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, he'd be awesome on the pod. Ronan's a good friend. We've been friends for a long time in the Ballers community, and he's an awesome guy. I actually just saw him up in his home state recently on a work trip. So
he owns a bar, guy. Right?
He owns a couple. He's a bit of a real life mogul, if you will.
So he's not the only person in the community then who owns a bar, because obviously we've got Bosco as well. So we've got a little bit of I don't know, some hustle, some pub
wars, maybe some pub wars,
some drinks going on. I feel like we can get a user from every continent with a bar. I feel like we can just get free drinks wherever we go. Bosco's already openly admitted if anyone's an MFL user comes to his bar called Odeon, it looks really nice actually. Says we'll just provide drink for you. So I feel like that's quite a big part of you go to Ireland is the cost of drink and how much you're going to drink. So yeah, nice.
Noted.
Yeah, it's for our MFL live meetup, right? Eventually, that was one of our resolutions. So
we can hire the venue out.
Yeah, we definitely do something like that. Would be cool. Yes, so we have to keep watching how Dirk will do in the next season, and Ronan is testing him in multiple positions, so we'll be curious to follow his journey into season 0.4. Time for Why Dirk. So some questions, statements, rant, anything people would like to ask or share with us about MFL. So Tiger had a question. When new BFC merch?
Yeah. I mean, we're just keeping an eye out on the supply and demand right now. BFC didn't have a super great season 0.3. So, outside of Joka's been amazing manager for BFC Manchester, who is our platinum team. And they held up the cup last season. So quite a few BFC fans over in Manchester right now. So we're just kind of checking out the marketplace, seeing what's out there. We do have official jerseys. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
yeah, they look real neat. And a few of you have got I'm not sure they're still contracted with the clubs, but a few players that either own or ballers have within the DAO on the back as well, right?
Yeah. Well, so when we did those custom jerseys, you could choose whatever you wanted, and I think mine was actually Thangard, who Scrub owns now, but Thangard will eventually be back in my wallet one day. But yeah, some people have their own number and name on the back. Some people have players in the MFL universe on their jersey. But I think the founders of BFC, we all went in and got a custom jersey designed from Olive and York. I don't know if you guys know Olive and York, but
yeah, on Twitter.
Their design team did it, and they were awesome. Did a wonderful job with it, and we got about 22 custom jerseys printed out for the founders.
Yeah, that's real neat. I like that. We've got one other question, which got asked 2 episodes ago, but I feel like it's going to become a staple, and it's your top 3 candy bars right here, right now.
Yeah, right here, right now, top 3 candy bars. I'm going to go with a Score. It's made by Hershey's. It's a toffee center. Love a Score. I'll probably put a Score at number 1.
Okay, so we're going reverse ordering.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and put Score at number 1. It's just there for me. I don't know why. Just like it. And let's go with just a plain Hershey's chocolate for number 2. And then we'll go with a Snickers for number 3. Shout out to Snickers on whenever they get us that sponsorship.
Yes. Yeah, Snickers always seems to be quite a staple in these top 3 lists, which I quite agree with, to be fair.
I just feel like Snickers at 3 is like, if I put something at number 3, it should just never disappoint me. And I just don't feel like I'm ever disappointed in a good Snickers bar.
Yeah. I can back that.
So Snickers will be the official MFL's candy bar, I feel like. And we're working on that sponsorship, right? And we can kind of working on that.
Do you have a top 3 vegetable, just so we can include Calvinator in this list as well?
Yeah. So shout out to Calvinator. I'll give you a vegetable.
Nice. Good veggies.
Yeah. So I liked. I'm gonna go broccoli. Give me broccoli for a top 3 vegetable.
Nice. That's kind of
definitely a good one. Also my top 3, broccoli. Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm going top 3, I'd probably go broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes. Are sweet potatoes a vegetable?
Yeah.
Is that technically a vegetable?
Yeah. It grows in the ground, right? So then I think that's.
Then you're thinking of the fries.
Yes. Yeah, I'm thinking of fries, and I was like, I don't know if that's illegal or not, but I'm thinking like baked sweet potatoes. That's just.
Yeah, that's great.
That's my jam. Yeah, give me broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes.
Are you a Brussels sprouts man outside of Christmas then as well?
Yes, give me Brussels sprouts year round.
I was going to say, because if they're second on your list, they're not just a seasonal veggie for you. They're a year round piece.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of things you can do with a good Brussels sprout, and they're good.
Oh, I love that. Cheers.
Yeah. So we have a lot of content now about veggies and candy bars. That's always good. Okay, thanks. So those were the updates, and let's now focus fully on the club DAO, Ballerz FC. We already heard about squad building a little bit, But now let's focus a bit more on that. First of all, BSellers, could you give us a short summary of your MFL career so far? How did you find out? When did you join? What's like your journey?
So Taggart actually came into the Ballers Discord one day and offered up this early access he had because he was a captain with, the founding team. So he was in from the very beginning, and they hadn't had a drop yet. They just had the white paper out, and there was no drop. And he was like, hey, I have this early access. And I was like, hey, I'll take it. And that's how I ended up kind of in the universe. And, I obviously love soccer over here in the U.S. and, a big fan over here. I was a high school coach before I had children. And so jumped on it when I saw it and learned as much as I could before that first drop and was in the first drop with Taggart. And so I've been in since the first drop, but I don't even know how long ago that was, but it was quite a long time ago.
Like May or June 2022, because I was trying to look at in Discord when you joined the server, but obviously a couple of months ago there was that
hacker.
There was that
intruder
who booted a few of us, and I think I know that I was booted out. Sellers looks like you were as well. So we can't find out the true date of when you were part of it, but yeah. I'm jealous of that.
It was probably a month or two. It was probably a month or two before that first drop.
Yeah.
So I mean,
maybe like February then. Maybe like February, March then, because I joined midway through the second drop, which was in middle of June, and I think that.
Yeah, so probably February, March of 22. So we're coming up on 2 years.
That's mad, actually. Like Taggard's already obviously an NFL team, but already 2 years plus. I think that's crazy, actually.
Yeah. It was like December 21 or something?
Yeah, I think the Discord opened like end of November, beginning of December. Yeah, it's kind of mad.
Yeah, so Club DAO, our episode is a little bit more focused on that because it's a really, I think, great, interesting concept. It's also lovely, like the way to run an MFL club. So first of all, for people who are not that technical, who are not into blockchain that much, what is a DAO actually? What is that? How does it work?
Yeah, so DAO, a DAO, it stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's kind of the structure of it, kind of having no central authority, right? And you simply vote on the decisions of the organization based off of how many ownership tokens of the DAO you own, right? So members that own tokens can vote on initiatives. They can put initiatives up for vote. And the code that governs the DAO is obviously all publicly available and visible. So, and I mean, I don't want to say all that to say it's super technical. I mean, we only have 120 ownership tokens of the BFC club. It's just a way for us to manage it. I mean, really, we're just a bunch of friends that like to degen together and talk about our kids and give dad tips, and we happen to play this metaverse football game along with it, and so it just gives us a formal way to say, hey, we own a piece of this.
Yeah, great breakdown of what a DAO is. So how have you then gone from getting into MFL, looking into a little bit about DAOs, or you've just explained the concept of DAOs? How did you go from joining the project to Ballerz DAO as it is now? What does that journey look like?
Yes, so I guess to go through that journey, to get to that journey, you kind of have to start at the beginning. Once that first drop happened, then obviously you start seeing the players you own, right? And at that point, we knew that club licenses were coming, but we didn't know how a club license would affect the gameplay. We didn't know really what that looked like. And so our kind of Ballerz contingent, our Ballerz kind of subsidiary, we had an MFL channel within that Ballerz Discord, and we all talked about the game, kind of what we wanted to do, kind of who was building a whole team versus who, we knew we wanted to build some top contenders, but none of us really had, the capacity to just build, a 15, 20 player roster full of legendaries, right? Outside of a couple of them who are just extremely competitive, Ronan. And so we knew we wanted to have a team together, because it's just fun to do stuff with your friends, right? And so because of that kind of got us on the idea of like, hey, how do we own this together? And then the club license dropped, and a lot of us landed licenses. I mean, a lot of us, I think on the initial club drop, I think we landed like 3 diamond licenses and like 4 platinum licenses and, scattered gold licenses. And we started basically a spreadsheet that was like, hey, look, here's all the players that, we'd be able to loan out to a BFC club. And it was like, 40 to 50 players of, 75 plus overall. It was like, hey, we need to think of a formal way to kind of run this. And, we mentioned some DAOs, and then at the time we were kind of mentioning, hey, how do we own this? I don't know. Are y'all super familiar with Emerald City? I guess in short form, Emerald City is really a DAO itself. But Jacob Tucker and that team, those guys really build tools for the Flow blockchain. And one of the things that they were working on at the time was a platform to be able to build a DAO on the Flow blockchain. And so we kind of, I kind of mentioned it out there like, hey, like what if we just created like an ownership token, and then we could just fund the ownership of BFC through this ownership token. And that would also give us an avenue to vote on decisions from the club more formally, instead of just running it in an informal fashion and it being kind of more complicated. The DAO really came up because we're all extremely busy people, and it just gave us a streamlined way to make decisions. So, once the clubs were released and we had clubs, then we all kind of voted on which licenses we wanted to keep with BFC. So, we voted on, obviously, the Diamond license in Barcelona. We voted on the Manchester license for Platinum and the Buenos Aires license in Argentina. So, in Gold. So, once we had all that, then it was like, well, hey, like, these members of the community bought these licenses, so how do we, pay them back? And so eventually, by working with Jacob and Emerald City, we actually got early access to Toucans. And Toucans is Emerald City's kind of Flow DAO program. And so we kind of told Jacob what we wanted to do, and Jacob was instrumental in setting up our DAO and kind of how it worked, and he listened to our idea and then implemented a lot of how we wanted to own the club into the actual Toucans program. So, we worked hand in hand with him and kind of got that running. And then once we got that running, then everybody could basically fund the DAO wallet by buying BFC ownership tokens. So we never went to like a public offering. We sold all 120 ownership tokens within just the BFC Discord. People, I think we initially had 22 owners. I think right now we have 24 owners who own at least one BFC token. There's a couple of us that own 10% of the club, which is 12 BFC tokens. But that's kind of how that came about. It was really just a simple way for a bunch of friends to own the same thing, because we wanted to be able to share the MFL points. We wanted to be able to share the club's success and to be able to share the club's management. And so from that point, once we funded the DAO, we then paid, people back who had bought things for the BFC club team. So, we paid everybody out from the DAO funding, and then we had some cash left over. And from the cash left over, we've collected quite a few players that play on several of the BFC teams, including Diamond. There's, and then later on into that journey, we realized we had, $2,000 to $3,000 left over from the club funding. And from that extra money, we actually built out BFC Quainsa, who's a fully club-owned team. So Quainsa is interesting because it is made up of 100% owned DAO players. So 95% of Quainsa earnings go to the club wallet. So once those MFL points are being able to be used, then our DAO then the BFC community can decide how they want to use those club points.
It's really cool. Yeah, amazing story about that, and also cool that you worked with that founder CEO of Emerald City, right?
I'm not totally sure Jacob's role within Emerald City, but Jacob Tucker, runs everything in there that I see. I mean, he's definitely an instrumental part of that community, and so if he's not president and CEO of Emerald City, then he's close to it.
Great. And I think you're also the biggest one. I saw a tweet today, or perhaps that you're like in terms of value, let's say one of the biggest DAO.
Possibly. I know there was Sloppy Steaks took a little run there, but so which is another topic of conversation, but when you create a token, you can kind of choose, which now there's more options, but when the platform first came out, you could choose whether you wanted to kind of take your token public, in which case you would fund a liquidity pool with all the funds that were used to buy tokens on your initial public offering. With BFC, we sold all of our tokens privately, so we never funded a liquidity pool. So like you couldn't go on a blockchain marketplace and buy a BFC token right now. We can privately send a token. We have the ability, like if somebody came to me and was like, hey, I want to buy a BFC token for $100, then I could say, okay, they would have to pay me privately, and then I would have to send them a token through my Blockto wallet. They can't go to a decentralized marketplace and buy a BFC token because one, there's none for sale, and two, there's no funded liquidity pool. So there's no way to there's no way to have the value of the token available to buy because the tokens are limited at 120 cap and they're all owned. So there are other DAOs that have created a token and just funded the liquidity pool based off of the flow coin, and then you could just go buy however many tokens you want based off of their supply. So we're a little different in that standpoint, as our token is just simply an ownership token of the BFC club assets.
Yeah, it's really like what you said, like you have this group of friends, this community, and you just formalized it in like a proper way to organize it a bit more and to work together like that. So I guess the follow-up here is that, like, how do you make those decisions together about squads, who to buy? You have like a big Discord, right? I'm also now in it, and Jimbo is also in it. We kind of know, but for listeners, so how does decision making, like, how does it work if people want to send a player or you want to?
Yeah, so club building, there's an individual channel for each club, right? So we have 4 BFC clubs: BFC Diamond, BFC Manchester, BFC Buenos Aires, and BFC Cuenca. BFC Cuenca is pretty simple because all those players are club owned and they stay on BFC Cuenca. But as far as BFC Diamond, BFC Manchester, and BFC BA, that club building happens in those channels, and we're just pinging people saying, hey, who do you have available for this season? Can I use this guy? Can I use this guy? And the DAO collects. So like if you want to use a DAO player, like we have 3 legendaries owned by the DAO, they collect 4% for the use of its players. And then for the club owned licenses like BFC Diamond, BFC Manchester, and BFC Buenos Aires, the club takes a 20% earnings cut from all those club owned licenses. So anything that the Diamond, Platinum, and Gold license make, the club earns 20% off the top. And then whoever's managing the club takes 10%, and then you have the remaining 70% to pay for the contracts of the players. And a lot of us take lower contracts to play on the BFC team because the club owns 20% of the license as well. So as long as the club is doing good and finishing, top half of the table, then we're all benefiting from the club's success. So we generally take 3 to 4% for starters, and 2 to 3% for subs, and that funds out that the rest of the 70% of the club earnings.
were all of those percentages and things you were mentioning about sort of like pre-discussed and predetermined through the voting within the DAO, or was it sort of, how did that piece work?
Yes, so all of that happened through the voting of the DAO. And so you guys don't own a BFC token yet, but I imagine that, one day it'll intrigue you enough.
Give it next payday. Next payday.
To come shopping for a token. I did see somebody was selling some in there. But if you do own a token, then it unlocks a lot of other channels. So, the Emerald City bot is connected to our Discord. And so then when you own a token, there's a proposal discussion area. And basically in that proposal discussion area, we talk about club matters that need a decision. And if any of those, are agreed upon with, at least 3 members, at least 3 token owning members, then we'll submit it to the voting booth. And in the voting booth, basically I type up, the vote and what it is, and then players vote with the amount of BFC tokens they own. And so if any vote gets over 50%, then the majority of the club agrees with the vote, and then that is passed. So all of those percentages were voted on in the voting booth, which, you can go to our Toucans DAO channel and look at previous votes and how the club voted and what has passed and what hasn't passed. Okay. Every vote is public, all the treasury data is public. And it's not like we have this unlimited amount of money. We've used all the funding money at this point. Now it's just, what we personally own versus what the club owns now, and kind of if we want to offer more tokens in the future to fund more, DAO funds, then we may do that. We may bump up the supply from 120 to 150 and offer 30 more tokens for anybody that, wants to join the DAO, in which case we would fund the DAO wallet to be able to buy more assets.
Yeah, I've bit of a coincidence you mentioned there how all the voting and stuff is public, because doing research prior to this episode, I had a little gander on there, and I sort of know I'm interested, and I think I'm not going to mention it now because obviously we'll talk about it later. But I'm interested to see some of the voting that was going on there. That slightly wasn't to do with Ballerz itself, but it's quite funny. We'll get onto it later. Yeah, I found it a really interesting way as to how you did that. So props to that. We'll get onto that later.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting concept. What do you think if people want to do the same for their club, or they have a group of friends, or they have another community? Last week we had Big Daddy Eric here, for example, about moonbeds, or about how could one do that, and what would be an advantage of that, or what would be a disadvantage of turning a club into a DAO? Yeah,
so I think for us and our kind of group of friends, which there's 24 unique holders of a BFC token right now. The average holding is 5 BFC tokens. So if you look at that, the biggest advantage of that for us was cost sharing. There's no way that, all 24 of us could go out, and buy, 15 legendaries and a diamond license. One, there's only 12 diamond licenses anyways. 2, that's just, that's a massive cost, right? So, the biggest advantage for us was to be able to cost share a competitive club. Not only that, we were able to cost share 4 competitive clubs. So, we have a diamond, a platinum, and 2 golds that, our organization owns, right? And so we were able to kind of cost share that and build top-end clubs without top-end money, because we came together and pooled our funds. And, it's really a ground-up organization. Nobody owns it. We just all own a piece of it. So all those conversations happened, and we all agreed, and it's fun to do stuff with friends. We're just a bunch of friends in the space. My wife calls them internet friends. So we it's kind of a safe space for us to be able to bring our frustrations and talk about our day to day, while also having this kind of centerpiece be the foundation of our friendship. But it's really just an ability to cost share that, and to be able to have a safe space for friends to come together and talk and relate to people anywhere from, we have owners, Jamie's in Australia, and we have Joka, who is in Croatia or somewhere. Who knows where Joka's at?
I think it's Croatia. Yeah, I think it's Croatia.
Yeah. So I mean, we have these owners that are spread across, the U.S. and and the world, and we all get to come together and talk every day and have fun together. And sometimes we see each other in real life, sometimes we don't, and yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah. So it's really like sense of community building, bringing people together, great stronger bond. So yeah, it's all awesome, amazing to do that.
But I mean, the biggest disadvantage is a lot of us have our own clubs that we have to field teams for. So the transfer window time is tough because you want to make BFC competitive, but you also don't want to tank your personal teams. So we have people coming in and out, and players coming in and out, and throughout the season players sell and players are bought, and so transfer window time is a hard time for us in the club because me and Joka are fighting for top talent, and then Dane, so I'm currently the manager for the diamond license. Joka's the manager for the platinum license, and Dane's the manager for the gold license. And so we have our own kind of manager's office in the Discord where just us three have access, and we're fighting back and forth on kind of top talent within the team. Like, hey, Mad Woman has these players. Well, I need them as a sub. Well, I need them as a starter. And so how do you kind of do that, right? Big Ticket has some great players, and it's just tough to be able to say, hey. So for us, it's like if you need them as a starter, then we're going to drop them to be a starter. But if you need them as a sub, then it's kind of, you have to kind of figure out that dynamic of how much is this sub really helping me versus how much could this sub help as a starter on platinum or a starter on gold. And so we don't want to handicap each other, but we do still have to fight for top talent to kind of make our teams competitive. So, I mean, that is something to think about.
I can imagine it might be tough, like the different conflicts of interest there, and you want to, of course, have the best for yourself, but you also need to share and make sure everything runs. So that can be tough, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not in this space because, we're passive and we're not super competitive. All of us are super competitive. All of us want to win. And, so it's like, it's like we want the club to be successful, but we also want to personally be successful with our own clubs, right? So it's just this back and forth of how do you kind of share that load.
Yeah. Jimbo, do you think we need some Dirk dilemmas?
Yeah, let's throw Sellers some Dirk dilemmas. Oh, I like that. Let's throw Sellers some Dirk dilemmas. We'll have you on more often for those rhymes.
So, last week we had a bit of a different Dirk dilemma with lifeboat and throwing features out of it in order to survive. Now we're back to more regular Dirk dilemma. So, two options. You have to pick one or the other. And a couple will be about tactical, some others about more, some general about football. So let's start with like a general football one, because you said you coached a high school team, right, of football. So in general with football, would you pick more youth or experience? Like if you had a team, what would you go for?
Youth or experience? Can I pick a mixture? I feel like a team is best built on a mixture. But if I'm coaching the team coming in, give me the youth side. I'll take the youth side. Just because I think it's fun as a coach to be able to mold how players see the game, and if you get a lot of experience in there that kind of has their own ideas of how they need to be spaced in certain situations, it's hard to coach the team that you want to coach. Whereas I feel like if you give me a bunch of youth and I can coach them into seeing the field how I want the field to be seen, then I can be more successful as a coach. So I think for that one, I think I'd probably go youth.
Yeah, great answer. Makes sense. I think I would also pick the same thing. Second one is about the new team instructions we have. So there's some options between, like, there's balanced option, but of course we don't want you to pick balanced. So take less or more long shots. Right now, what do you feel like doing more?
Well, for BFC Diamond, we have some wings with some extremely high shots. So we have Tim Kirkpatrick, which Zach Bowe owns, and he's the Scotland right winger. He's a 90, and his shooting rating is 95. We also have Lars Thyssen from Denmark, which, you know, he's owned by Ronan, and he has a 94 shooting. Now, they both do still have extremely high dribbles. You know, I think Lars has like a 94 dribble, and Kirkpatrick has a 94 dribble. So I don't think for our diamond team this is really a dilemma. I think either choice is good, but currently their shooting ratings are higher. So I'm probably going to be testing out more long shots and getting opportunities and hoping for deflections for our striker to finish it off.
I think that's a really interesting point there. And I was thinking of this question, another question just on top of that, like what you were saying then. With legendary players having such good stats anyway, do you feel like maybe some of the team instructions might be quite hard to actually tamper with away from balanced, because all the players are quite similar in terms of stats? Whereas like an uncommon and rares, you actually might get a player whose dribbling is 92, which for a rare or an uncommon is really, you know, abnormal, right?
Right. I think so. I think in the legendary arena, in the diamond arena, I think that we will see as this kind of unfolds, that you're gonna be able to mess up more than you're gonna be able to succeed. I think there's more things that can go wrong if I tamper with the balance. You know, when the stats are so high, you know, when you have a left wing that, you know, has a 94 shooting, 91 passing, and 94 dribble, you know, he's so good in all the main arenas that I need him to be good in. Why would I want to make him focus on shooting when he has a 94 dribble, right? Like, why would I want to make him, you know, focus on sending in crosses when maybe I need him to press? And so I think in the diamond arena, I think you're going to screw up more than you're going to fix if you start tampering with that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting viewpoint, actually. And talking about legendary players, I've got a little would you rather for you. Would you rather, in one pack, like you get a legendary pack, and in that pack, you get the best two remaining players, so that's that 94 rated keeper and a 92 rated left mid. Would you rather pack them, one pack right now, or Ballers win league next season?
I'd rather pack the 94-92, because that would solidify the Ballers roster. You know, I'd rather us lose this season and BFC own that 94-92, because that's gonna set us up for success in the future. And you don't want to make a permanent mistake for a temporary satisfaction. And so I feel like taking the cup would satisfy us temporarily, but I think it'd be a permanent mistake to let that 94 keeper walk.
Damn, I genuinely thought you might have said Ballers win the league then. You know, all the fans out there, all your fans are like, what? The team wants to sacrifice the league already before it started?
But now maybe they can win the...
Hypothetical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, think about it in real life. Would you rather your local team, you know, hold the cup up this week, or would you rather them, you know, sign Messi? You know, so.
No, of course, I agree with you, BSellers. Like, if you have this better roster, then each year you have a better chance, better shot at winning the league, right? So I agree with you.
Devil's advocate, you're still not guaranteed to win the league, though, are you?
No, but you have a better shot.
You're not, but you have a higher percentage chance to win the league for a longer period of time.
You still got Ronan there. You just always
but with these tactics, I feel like I got something cooked up for him. I'm feeling good.
Dirk could have an early retirement. That's a big player. You never know what happens. Life, season, career injuries could happen. You never know.
Yeah, but the caveat is that 94 and 92, they're young. So we're gonna, we got a little betting degen community in the BFC space. So I think that we're going to take the bet and give me the 94-92 and we'll take our chances.
Good one.
No sacrifice, no victory. I like it.
Okay, next dilemma. Controlled or direct passing? That's another new team instruction. What do you feel like right now?
Controlled or direct passing? I am going to not answer that because I feel like one right now has a distinct advantage, and I don't want to show my hand. So I'm going to say balanced.
Okay, balanced. Yeah, it's. I also have a stock like. Should we give already too much about our own tactics? Also Jimbo, we are going to talk more about tactics. Will we give away our tactics?
I'll happily give away. I beat Bosco earlier. I just sent him a screenshot when this is what I was rocking.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I'm like, well, if you counter that, I'm just going to counter that afterwards. So I'm trying to big head tactics right now, while probably being a degen at the same time.
That's also smart to
a long way to go for tactics, though.
Beat him with different tactics, and then he doesn't know anymore.
I mean, inevitably, when 22-man visual comes up, people can figure it out anyway.
Yeah.
So there will be an element to, not completely, but if you play the lowest block there is.
Yeah. I mean, if your team depth is dropping into the box, when they get into a defensive mindset, then you obviously know, you're going to be able to tell some things when it's visual, but you're not going to be able to tell everything. And I especially the offensive possession, right? When you're in the offensive, you're not going to be able to really tell. I guess, you might be able to slightly tell, but you're not going to be able to tell if they're telling their players to dribble more often or dribble less often. It's just going to be, you're just going to have to guess. And
yeah, I do wonder if in the future they'll, obviously we've got that 3-way slider, if in some other manager games where you've got a 5-way slider, so it's like really extreme, like you take in more long shots, you take in less, but then you've also got the in-between.
No, yeah, and this is the first run, right? This is our first time being able to direct players to do something. This is going to change. We've been in this for 2 years now. We used to play, tournaments in the Discord on a Discord bot.
Shout
now
out
we're talking,
Mr. Matchbot, Kevin.
Shout out to Kevin, right? So
yeah.
So we used to just think about what would happen. If these teams played, right? Now we can actually play and see it. So I think that one thing is, it's amazing that the team is able to give us new things to try, but this is not the end goal, right? This is just another stop along the journey of where this simulation is headed. And so this will change. Take shots might have 5, 7, 9 different options. The 3 right now that we have is, just getting us into that space and getting us into the mindset of what it looks like. We're just starting to bear fruit on this tree. And if a tree bears too much fruit too early, it dies. So you kind of have to slowly trickle out these settings so that managers are able to digest it. If they were to give everything, if they were to take a year off and then give all the updates at once, it would be too much to consume. So, you would kill the community. So being able to kind of slowly release things at a slow pace, gives us the ability to say, oh, now let me think about this, with 3 different settings. So when there is 7 different settings, it's just not so overwhelming. You're like, oh yeah, let me step it back one, right? So this will change, and there will be more sliders, and we'll have more of an idea of what we want to do with it then.
Completely agree with you.
So my next dilemma was dribble more or less often, but I guess this applies the same rules to that one, right? No preference.
Yeah, no preference. Just the Diamond League's competitive. You got Diamond League managers that won't even set a team because they don't want you to scrimmage against them. So,
it's competitive, yeah.
I don't want to give out too much, but,
Don't
I
answer
want the team to play a team game, and so give me balanced.
Balanced, okay. Final one. Would you rather get an 83 rare player or another silver club? Maybe for Ballers silver club. 83 rare or that one?
Give me the 83 rare because our gold license needs some help, and I'd rather see gold be competitive than us have to field another club.
Fair enough. All right, so those were the Dirk dilemmas of this week. And we have a couple more questions about Club DAO and, of course, Big Daddy Eric's questions, so from the past guest. First of all, what are your tips and tricks for getting started? Let's say, like, if someone's listening and they're like, I also want to do the same as Ballers did, as you guys did, where to start? How can you do this?
Yeah, so my first tip is to, find your group, right? Find your group of friends, whether it's 5 people or 25 people or 100 people. Find your kind of ownership group and make sure that you guys are connected in what you want to do in the space. The second step to that is once you know kind of who those guys are, who those people are, then it's on the flow side. Emerald City, the Toucans, it's toucans.ecdao.org. That is, if you go to the Emerald City Discord or you just search Emerald City, look at the Toucans platform. It's the DAO builder. You can kind of set up your DAO that way, and it's super easy. It's straightforward. You don't have to do any of the smart contracts or any of the back end. It's all really done for you, and you can kind of set up your DAO how you want it to be set up and run. And that's my main tip is to find your community and then use Toucans. We loved it. It's been great for us. You can tie the bot to your Discord, and then all the DAO decisions can kind of happen in that communication space. I think having a central point to communicate and having a tool to run the communication, and then having a treasury wallet and a treasury page for your DAO is massive for it to kind of be all visible and to be as transparent as possible. The negative to that is you can't have Dapper is so locked down that you can't run a DAO from a Dapper wallet. So our DAOs run from a BlockDAO wallet, and so we do have a dummy Dapper wallet that the DAO assets are owned in, but the actual DAO treasury is on BlockDAO because it's decentralized and Dapper's kind of more centralized, and so there is a negative to that. You do have to kind of find some workarounds, which we've done our best with, but you can't fully run it from Dapper. You do have to create a BlockDAO wallet on that side, but other than that, those would be my tips and tricks.
So it's much easier to set up a DAO now than it was when you and Ballers were going ahead and paving the way and sort of ahead of the curve there, sort of having an influence on what the infrastructure looks like now. So, which I guess is really great.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that infrastructure, we're going back and forth with Jacob, over with Emerald City and what it looks like and what it can do. And I think that through our kind of test case, he was able to really refine that and make it better for everybody coming in and give you more options, really, in kind of how that performs.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So find your community and just kind of Google Emerald City, and I guess from there, and they can always reach out to you, I guess, for some help. BSellers, right?
Hey, it's as easy as that. I'm a Discord message away, so if you need anything, just shoot me a message. I'll tell you what we did. I'll tell you why we did it. Or just jump into the BFC Discord. It's an open Discord. You're not going to be able to see the private channels, but you can see a lot of our conversations happen in general chat. You can see a lot of our team conversations. happen in the BFC clubhouse. And, because not everybody that has a player on the BFC teams owns a BFC token. We might send a contract out today to somebody that doesn't own a token. We have allocated contract percentages for players that don't own a token. So, there's certainly some public knowledge that, can come from the BFC Discord. And so, just shoot me a message. You can join up. We can talk, and you can kind of see how ours is built. And, if you ever want to be an owner of BFC, come on in and check in the BFC tokens for sale section, and you might find yourself an owner of an MFL DAO. So,
heard it here first, folks, and I can vouch for the vibes in the Ballerz Discord as well. I've been in there for a number of months now, and it's I always like popping in, have a little chat with you guys, see all that. I always see the chats always popping off during the off season when all that, like you said, how busy it is for you right now, all the transfers. You see everyone chatting, so I've seen firsthand like what some of those comms can look like sometimes.
Yes, definitely. It gets busy. We're all competitive. We all want to win. So, and it's not like, there's no like collusion. I think that was a lot of people's, fear in the beginning was like, well, Ronan owns a diamond club and he also owns, 10% of the BFC club. So, is he going to, throw a game, with his personal club for BFC success? And, that's just not going to happen because we're all hyper competitive and we're all going to try to win no matter what. So
let's do Big Daddy Eric's question right now.
Yes, E's question.
Yeah, he had a nice one. So he said, what would be your goal celebration and or walkout music? So when you score a goal, when your team comes out in the Meta Stadium, which song would play?
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. Since this is about the DAO in true DAO fashion, we put it to a vote. And, in the proposal discussion, I was given 4 songs, and we put it to the vote for the token owners. And the 4 songs were quite interesting.
There's some bangers in it.
There's some bangers in there. Can't Be Touched by Roy Jones Jr. Local guy for me. Love Roy Jones. And we got, what was the other one? The Ecstasy of Gold by Morricone. Awesome. Love it. 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton. A classic. When that piano drops, you just feel the heat. Something's about to happen, right? And I am from Florida, and somebody threw in there, I saw a tiger from the Tiger King. And, so they did vote, and BSellers walkout would be in a 32-22 race on the votes. Can't Be Touched by Roy Jones Jr. won out. So that is a hype song. If you throw on Can't Be Touched and you're not ready to roll, then you need to check your blood sugar, because that'll get you going.
So I saw that the Tiger King song came second. Walkout and goal celebration. You've got Can't Be Touched and you've got Tiger King. Which one's which? And you have to use both.
Yeah. So give me Tiger King for the walkout. I'm gonna walk out to Tiger King. I saw a tiger.
Live renditions each time. He's in the center circle.
Oh,
a bit like the national anthem in
yeah.
America with all your sports events. Like he's just there giving it the big uns before the game as you walk out.
100%. But if I'm putting one in the back of the net and then Can't Be Touched comes on, then I just feel like that's just pure adrenaline. If you're putting one in the back of the net and then Can't Be Touched comes on, then it's just the shirt's coming off. You're just streaking down the field.
A little celebration to boxing the corner flag as well, maybe.
Oh yeah, definitely boxing the corner flag.
But maybe you could also have a mascot, like a tiger as a mascot in the BFC colors as stripes. And then I saw a tiger. And then
maybe so.
Well, let's see if in the future there will be
Yeah.
a feature or you can personalize your stadium and you can add some songs. It would be really fun. We talked about that last week too. And BSellers, for our next guest, we don't know yet who that might be, but what would be your question for
Yeah,
him? Or
I thought about this, and something that always interests me is numbers. I'm an engineer by trade, so I love numbers. And so let's go with what would their jersey number be and why?
Great one, I like that. We don't have that also yet, like jersey or like numbers on the field. So good question to also discuss that and talk about shirt numbers, and will be interesting.
Yeah, and like one day, will you be able to assign a jersey number to players? Will there, once we get a 2D version, will you have to assign a number to the player so that
Player.
kind of who has the ball? Right now, it's just dots. And, so eventually if you're able to assign a jersey number, then that jersey number shows up on that dot, where that player is moving. So I think that'll give us some more insight later on. So will it just be a 1 through 11? Will it just be standard? Like if you're playing striker, if you're playing goalkeeper, you're number 1, and, if you're playing the 9, then you're number 9. Or will you know when a sub comes in? If a number 17 comes in on a sub, will that be marked as number 17, or will he just take the positional number? I don't know.
Yeah, that will be, I think, definitely something they've written down there for development, and especially with the 2D, it will be very useful and and a lot of fun also.
Yeah. Future thoughts. Future thoughts.
Yes. Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. So about the future, we like to discuss what do you think about the future of MFL, or and maybe we can tie that into the question and final one about DAO. So how can club DAOs maybe help MFL grow and develop? So if you look forward in the future, can club DAOs, can they help MFL grow and develop? And in general, what are your thoughts about MFL's future? What do you see it from here?
Yeah, so I guess on the DAO side, I think it's the cost sharing avenue. I think if you want to be a manager, cool. If you want to be an agent, cool. But I think if you want to kind of build a club and be a part of that club, but also you need a contingent of people to be competitive, then I think the DAO offers a good avenue for growth, because it allows people to invest into a common goal. And I think that anytime, I can go far alone, but I can go a lot farther with 24 people with the same goal, right? And so we've seen that in BFC, where I can only get so far by myself, but if I have a group of people that are willing to go with me, then we can get a lot farther, right? So I think the DAO offers that ability in this Web3 space, is you're kind of going together, and that DAO token kind of ties you together. And anytime that you're tethered together, you're willing to fight together. And I think that allows you that ability.
Yeah, so to stand a chance in pool resources, and then you can
better together
stick it to the big guys. Yeah. Awesome.
I have
Great.
one final question for you, Sellers. And you're talking about earlier how this Ballerz DAO has brought this sense of togetherness and that social side, right, of the community, of the group of people you've got within it. What happens when a manager is quite not performing, and maybe the fans and a part of the DAO is like, this guy needs to get the boot? What happens then? I guess it's a voting system, but how, that might happen one day.
No, that's a great point. And I mean, we've said from the beginning that if a manager is underperforming, I was super busy, and at the end of the year last year for season 0.3. Right now we're just learning the game, and there's no real seasons. When real seasons happen, if a BFC manager is underperforming, then at the end of every real season there will be a vote as to whether we retain the manager or whether we open the manager position up for vote. And so whenever real seasons happen, managers will be evaluated at the end of every real season. Right now, we're just testing the engine out, getting our feet wet. Whenever season 1 rolls around, at the end of every season, managers will be evaluated on their performance. And, so we don't take it lightly. we don't take failure lightly, and failure is not a good look on anybody. So even in our fake Web3 space, we're going to shoot for excellence. And even in, we're all friends, but there's a voting structure, and the vote rules all. So if I underperform season 1, then I'm going to vote against myself to retain that manager role. And because at the end of the day, I'd rather leave the position and have the club be successful than to have the club fall and me still hold that spot.
Interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question to understand sort of like how the dynamics and if you'd thought about that. So it's great to see that that is something you've considered. I hope it never happens. Obviously, we don't want anyone losing their positions, but football's football. We see managers go in days and weeks. You don't want to have a high turnover.
Hey, the only thing that never changes is everything changes. So you got to be comfortable with change in life.
Well, and Jimbo, you always talk about the promotion relegation starting and all the drama, and obviously with DAO it can be fun for the pot also to watch what's going to happen with managers, and if a Ballerz team relegates, it also affects value, right? So for you it will be definitely interesting to watch that.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're getting down into the relegation zone, then I imagine you'll be voted out. So because it does affect value.
What happens if a manager is performing so badly you have to take extreme measures and you got to bring someone in quick to save that club? Could that sort of thing happen, or is it going to be mainly a season-on-season review? But could there be drastic measures taken in place depending on the situation?
Yeah, I mean,
you never know.
Why not? Every situation calls for a different response. So, we could what if it to death, but if you want to get a good look at a T-bone steak, you could stick your head up a bull's ass, or you could just ask the butcher, right? So it's its own animal.
I love some of these quotes you're coming out with, man.
Yeah, a lot of like good wisdom, let's say. I would say good expressions there. All right, Jimbo, any more questions, or are we?
No, I wanted to ask a cynical question about managers being booted out, and that was what I wanted to touch on. We've got a great answer from it.
Yeah,
so I think
great answer, definitely.
My side, we're all good. Yours, Cabinet?
Me too. Yeah, I think it was really interesting to hear about the DAO and get a little insight how it works exactly with Ballerz FC. Of course, people know the team and they know there is like a Discord and a chat, and many people are part of that. So it's cool to have some insights and more details about that, and hopefully it will inspire others to set up similar communities and DAOs.
Please, we welcome all. Come get beat. We'd love to have you in our division, and we're just here to play and win. And thank you guys for having me on the pod. Obviously, love it. Love what you're doing. Love any excitement around the space, and somewhere for us to come together and talk, right? We're all just interested in some similar thing, right? So it's fun to have kind of a space to talk about that. So we appreciate what you guys are doing, giving us something to listen throughout the day, and thanks for having me on. Even if I wasn't your first choice, I was eventually a choice. So I appreciate that.
I guess
Thanks a lot.
You're the 21st first choice. We'll call it that.
Hey, I'll take it.
You're not the 22nd or the 23rd, right? So there's
hey, 21's okay. I'll take 21st.
Great. And of course you can come back. There's more episodes, so for sure.
Yeah, I think we'd like to do. I know I would like to do like we'll have like a board. We'll have a big hosted event maybe where we bring different. Maybe the whole diamond div comes on if we can get all 9 or 10 of you on it on one podcast. But yeah, that'd be good. That
would be insanity. Or like whoever wins the Diamond Cup should be able to come on for a segment, right?
Yeah.
Post-season interviews with some of the successful managers, and then bring on a few that get relegated as well.
Yes.
And opinions.
Yeah, kind of. What did you do wrong?
But yeah, honestly, Sellers, really appreciate you coming on today. Super interesting conversation with a lot of different dynamics and topics we covered today. So really, really do appreciate you coming on this evening. So without further ado, we'll call it a close there. Thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't already, go follow us, subscribe, like, rate, review, all that fancy stuff. Which you
Fire.
Exactly. If he's got this far, he's gonna kill you. Well, hopefully, if you're listening and you've got this far, I want you to just go into the Discord general chat and just put #fire. Just go into the Discord chat and just type in #fire if you've got this far. But yeah, without further ado, thank you all for listening. Until next time, keep your tactics tight and your lineup spicy. See you later.
Bow, bow, bow.